It's *1978 *8378. Here's a face I have not seen in a while, which is Governor Pataki. Bill Ritter said he's starting a campaign. I don't know what that means, but it's the first time I've really heard it on the news.
A campaign of kindness underway in Ukraine, spearheaded by former New York Governor George Pataki. So far, his nonprofit organization has helped put up 30 homes for displaced Ukrainians. I talked to Mr. Pataki today, and he let loose on the U.S. government for not doing more to help the refugees of Ukraine.
I can understand arm's length when it comes to lethal military assistance, but there is no U.S. presence that we've seen on the humanitarian side. And that's what's hard to understand. How is providing food or medicine or emergency shelters provocative? It's not. And you see others doing it, but we see no presence from the U.S. inside Ukraine.
By the way, you can see more of my...
The word provocative is an interesting use of the term.
Interview with the former governor for our web-based Eyewitness News Countdown show. And if you want to help the refugees get shelter, Mr. Pataki says his foundation is taking donations. You can find it at georgepatakicenter.com. Still ahead in Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock on this Monday night. After flooding ravaged a section of New Milford, New Jersey last week, residents want to know, why was there no warning? And why does this keep happening? Plus, this iconic statue has been holding her ground outside the New York Stock Exchange for the last 5 years. Today, city leaders vote on the future of the Fearless Girl. This is where it all...
I'm going to put on the flood thing, which normally I don't, because I'm of the feeling that they shouldn't have built houses on the land. There's some utility called SUEZ that runs some kind of floodgate thing, so the story says. But when one of the residents called in a recent storm, the 911 operator asked the woman as she's calling in that water's coming into her house, they asked if she could swim. This is the level of professionalism one has to rely on. I'm in the state of New York. It really hasn't been a higher bar than that. It's like if you're in an emergency, like self-service is what it feels like. So here's all the items in the garbage in the dump.
Flooding. A group of local leaders believes the SUEZ water company was at least partially to blame.
Now, is that the same SUEZ that works the Suez Canal system? Just curious. Sometimes they like to use the same symbols and move them.
Blame for the Hackensack River spilling over its banks.
It's time for us to move forward and have a true plan that saves property and eliminates the risk to lives downstream.
The reservoir system is run by SUEZ Water. They say they told officials weeks ago their reservoirs were at maximum capacity.
So instead of being at 3.5 billion gallons, it probably was up at maybe 3.7 or 3.8. It was holding more water because the water comes up on the banks.
Not galleons, which is a form of currency somewhere in the world, I don't know where, but gallons, which is a water metric weight.
And
or volume.
Go somewhere, so it's going to spill over.
Those who were trapped in the flooding say the water rose quickly.
Finally, I just called 911, and they asked me if I could swim. So that's when I knew that that was kind of an intense situation.
The water utility says it was monitoring the dam Thursday night, but did not open floodgates as was originally reported. They say only the state can make that decision. But residents say the utility could have done more to alert everyone.
Every member of every community has to act responsibly. Why should a business be held to a different standard? Especially when the community is its client.
This area, where there's still dozens of houses, sits in the Hackensack floodplain. On Friday, there was waist-deep water out here.
I mean, there's just this thread with this, I don't know if it's UNESCO, I don't know what the right word is. It just feels very seedy. in the sense of like within this US system, like their US attorneys look different than the attorneys that are homegrown. There's there's a lot of differences. What I'm confused at is just why what's gotten into something like a US system is now using that to backdoor or backfill other stuff, like directors of communications at the White House. It's a problem. And some other whatever that I've been taking photos of and putting on my whatever, my account. I mean, like, it is just, it's everywhere. Like, then they're in everybody's, then now there's a different messenger and a different voice reporting. Who's recording it? Who's bringing it back to, like, the positive feedback loop. I mean, the fact that they didn't know gallon or galleon or, like, speaking provocative when they need floodgates opened so they don't drown in their homes. Like, these are big language mistakes by what feels like untrained whatever. But the public pays for it with their lives and with not being able to live and, like, enjoy any kind of freedom or, like, it's human rights at a different level for those that would help others if their own situations were in a state of sustainability. But instead, it's a constant struggle with all of this up and down cycling for reasons that are outside of the grasp of the normal human just trying to get by.
The best option may be take these houses down and make them look like this area where there used to be houses.
Help minimize.
How did they get to build houses in that area if it's in a floodplain? Where was the Army Corps of Engineers?
The impacts that heavy rains cause in this area.
In New Milford, Anthony Johnson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Asking her if she could swim.
That's in New Jersey. I'm in New York.
Swim. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, Mayor Eric Adams of New York has designated Juneteenth, a paid New York City holiday. Juneteenth, which falls on June 19th, of course, marks the anniversary of the day federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, back in 1865 to announce that all enslaved people were free. The designation will take effect this year. JetBlue cutting...
Nobody has any idea what that means. I don't know what it means. Is that a campaign? Is that a campaign promise? Is that going to actually alleviate and fix things? Is that just going to bring in more problems? I mean, it's just... There's so few answers on this machine. If you're not, like, and some people have some other kind of network that they are interconnected with for their story. So maybe this makes sense. I don't know. It's so frustrating. We're trying to get some level of intelligence into this area to figure out what the hell's going on elsewhere and what one should do with oneself, especially as my health keeps deteriorating. This seems important. I know the locals have mentioned the ghost guns. They say that they're coming up from the south again. I only go off of what the machine is saying. Today, President Biden got involved. So now there's, like, federal backing to this ghost gun crackdown with the guns with no serial numbers. Which is important on a multitude of whatever.
in that shooting was a ghost gun, and today President Biden announced new Justice Department regulations to try to crack down on the proliferation of the privately made firearms without serial numbers that are increasingly cropping up in violent crimes, especially here in New York City. The new rules change the current definition of a firearm under federal law to include unfinished parts, which all must be licensed and include serial numbers on them. Manufacturers must also run background checks before a sale.
These guns are weapons of choice for many criminals. We're going to do everything we can to deprive them of that choice. And when we find them, put them in jail for a long, long time.
The gun rights organization Gun Owners of America says it's going to sue to stop implementation of this new rule, which it says and claims violates the Constitution. Stay tuned. And tomorrow night, a reminder, we dig deeper into what's become a major problem nationwide with an Eyewitness News special, Untraceable, a ghost gun emergency. You can catch it tomorrow night, 8 p.m., wherever you stream, ABC 7, New York. Developing right now, New York cops shot and wounded a man they say was threatening officers with a machete.
There's a lot of that stuff going on right now in the local area with whatever is going on in their professional league. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxies, Broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.